Hi, everyone. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth with Scott Limrell. Hello, Scott. Thank you for being here with
Gary,
us.
thank you for being here. It takes a lot of courage. We were actually doing a private journey before the radio show because I don't want to call it healing. Let's just say it had to do with recovering a memory on another life that had to do with guilt and shame and things in this life. And once that is awakened, the effect it has on the nervous system and the being is gone. It's just a memory. When something goes wrong in another world, planet blows up or people die, and we had a part in it, the first mistake many beings make is to blame themselves for the entire event, which can't happen except on a planetary scale as a joint subconscious misdirected nature of all the beings there. And then all the beings in the universe as well that did nothing to prevent it. Because it's like, oh, our highest law is we can't intervene in less advanced cultures and all this kind of stuff. But in reality, the one energy running through all life and supporting it here is connected to everything else. You cannot, absolutely cannot, watch a world go up in smoke and do nothing because the beings who lose their bodies are going to reincarnate somewhere else, back on your own worlds. And it's going to bite you in the rear if you don't do anything. If people have the ability out in other worlds to stop a planet from being self-annihilated, because they finally realize that the people on that planet have long since lost free will to choose. Meaning the free will they think they have here isn't free will at all. They can't make correct decisions that aren't destructive when they're being influenced through an amnesia and unconsciousness, through doubt and fear. World leaders on earth make decisions every day incorrectly because they're subconsciously driven by fear of another country, who's going to be on top, nuclear weapons, reverse engineered extraterrestrial technology, and they're busy making decisions that end up backfiring, and then you have to spend a lot of money to try to correct it. And it goes on and on and on and on like this as the world gets more used up. Because they're not putting money and technology into making this place a peaceful, serene world. They're not using technology to free people from the burden of life so they can become more enlightened. And I don't blame the people on earth because it's clear to me they've long since lost their free will to make correct decisions. That's why the world's in the condition it's in. Which means that disclosure of the existence of vast natures of beings that live beyond earth, because they do, duh, and in other dimensions and other realities, is inevitable for this planet in order for it to survive. It's very simple. It's a law of physics. If people in the past history, galactic history, even in great galactic alliances of world systems, in the past did nothing because the unconscious drives that are negative, a world's people decided to end it, blow up a planet, or ruin a universe, then people who do that are not conscious enough to have free will. So the whole law of non-interference falls down on itself and crashes into pieces. Because the real responsible thing to do for beings who are awake, if beings on other worlds are no longer can choose a free will to choose correctly, then they need to intervene to prevent that disaster, because all the beings on a world that's destroyed have to reincarnate somewhere else. And they're going to head right over to other worlds. Looks like your video just froze again. Your video froze for a minute. You should be okay now. And you're still on now, so don't worry. I'm still recording. Okay? So the obvious nature of truth is that All beings throughout the grand multidimensional universe are connected through an energy that is non-nuclear and non-atomic in nature, an energy that is behind and supporting all things, that is a conscious living force. It is one energy, and it moves through all the dimensions of time and space, beyond time and space, across a void into the upper realities, and it supports and sustains planets and suns and galaxies and moons, and the space between them is supporting. They're all floating in this other ether. And that is a telepathic connective energy for all beings that run bodies. That means human bodies or any other type of body that's genetic in nature do not run themselves ever. Brains don't run on automatic. You don't just get born and it just runs itself. There is a being, even if the being's been made to forget all about this, that turns that body on when it's ready to be born, makes it breathe, runs it, grows it up, even on a planet as unconscious as Earth. They become adults and they're still running it. People do something amazing on Earth. They put their body to sleep every night, and they don't realize that the brain does not do that automatically. That's why if a person chooses to stay awake for a week until they become psychotic, they can. Because in reality, the body needs to be still, and the being needs to leave it behind on automatic in order to recharge it. And at that time, when the body's asleep at night in the trance state, it's been turned on automatic to run while you're gone, which means people on Earth are traveling among the stars, other worlds, and other realities every night, but they don't even know how to bring back awareness of it because they're not taught this anywhere on Earth from birth. When they become adults, they have even less confidence about any of this. Now, you're shaking something, but the video kind of freezes every now and then, so be careful. Okay, it might be shaking an electrical connection or something. Okay. So when a person discovers what it is that's made them feel afraid subconsciously in this life, to remember what they knew before they were born here, when they finally do this and get some help to do it, they recover many of their higher faculties, because the fear is negative in nature, and it drives the energy of enlightenment, the energy connected to the one first sound supporting all life, into the ground, like short-circuiting a battery. So, in a sense, for a person to remember free will, which means knowing what they are that is not a physical body, never has been, never will be, how it exists and what its co-creative purpose is in eternity with the source behind all life. This is the reason beings incarnate on different worlds, on different dimensions. To come across paths of beings and things or circumstances that cause them or stimulate them to recover courageously what they themselves were made to forget by tyrants and not on Earth, or that they caused themselves because they feel guilty about something they were part of in the past. Fear is at the basis of all of this, and fear is an artificially created negative emotion, not a real emotional state of any being that runs bodies. But people on Earth are firmly affixed in believing that fear and doubt and speculation and theory, anger and debate and all these things are part of their nature. It is not part of their nature. It's part of the nature of matter, DNA, positive, negative. It's part of the nature of physical reality. It is not the nature of the beings running bodies. So the first thing that beings out among the universe realized fairly recently is that they cannot stand by having real free will, knowing who they are, in or out of bodies, flying spaceships around the universe on zero-point or toroidal energy, which is the energy of the universe between all things that float in it. They can't sit by and let worlds go up in smoke full of people who can't remember who they are, and they they aren't operating on free will to make correct decisions productively, benevolently, for the good of all life. They have to intervene in some way that inspires or encourages or causes people on earth to step forward collectively and begin to remember what they were made to forget, to ask for the assistance of brothers and sisters and other beings from other worlds to help them, because those world systems out there aren't having the problems anymore that Earth people have. They corrected them long ago, and many of them are human. And no, they don't die in 100 years. And they don't grow old in 100 years. It's quite different out there. People who are living on Earth today were once citizens of those worlds before sets of circumstances in galactic and solar system history put them here with no memory. This is true. You cannot hide the truth from beings who are in communication with other worlds and other realities, because they know. They recorded it all. If people on Earth really want to know what freedom is, then freedom comes with absolute responsibility. It means, as free as we are, to travel the multiverse as beings, not through the limitations of a physical body we run, not even the limitations of a spaceship, then we have to have full responsibility so that we are driven from the core of our being to only create with others that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life, and not just life on Earth, all of it. People who are on Earth are all extraterrestrial. Every last one of them, because human beings did not evolve originally on Earth. They evolved before this world even existed, in a condition that would allow people to live on it. They didn't evolve in the Milky Way galaxy either. It didn't take overnight to make one of these types of forms. Certain genomes on the DNA of humans on Earth have been tampered with in the past, shut down and passed on genetically, so that when you try to use higher faculties of knowing certainty, it gets blocked by certain things that don't function in the nervous system properly, or there's subconscious fear to remember affecting the nervous system. And then people make incorrect choices every day all over the world. Those are not the kind of choices that will allow this purple world to survive in the next few years. You can't keep doing what people are doing on this world and expect to come out right. You cannot slaughter all the sea life and massively raise animals until there's so many people, and it just becomes silly to try to live in a polluted environment and think there's a future for this world, because there isn't one. Not by ourselves alone on Earth. We need and are part of and connected to many other fellow beings on many other world systems. The difference now is that they know they have to act, or Earth could end up in its own way, like Maldek was. Maldek is an asteroid field circling at high speed in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter around the sun. It didn't get put there by itself. It's not failed planets. It's not pieces of moons. It just decided to go around the sun in the orbit of a planet. Duh. It was blown apart from the core outward long ago in solar system history. And there were 3 major races on that planet, all killed. And their propensity for self-destruction, even though some of them were nice people, were carried with them into other planets and other lives, like Earth, and not just Earth. At that time, what we call the Galactic Alliance did not intervene. It was really an act of, I don't want to call it cowardice, but kind of ignoring, not stepping in to save a world, because we're all connected as beings, not bodies. We're all connected, and we all come from the same source. None of us can shirk our responsibility to nurture younger races into higher states of being and help them play among the stars. The way beings are in mass out beyond the stars now is quite different than they were a few years ago. And Earth is next, fortunately. It's quite clear to any of us that see it that Earth people do not have the personal conscious free will collectively to change the destructive direction of this planet on their own. Governments won't work together. Religions don't. They cannot work this way and expect to go play among the stars with other beings in other worlds. Because the way people are here would be taking that competitive, destructive nature out among the stars. So this solar system was quarantined and not by people on Earth. And it's not vindictive or a tyrant thing. They did this. They did it to protect us from ourselves and to protect them from the destructive nature of what people are doing collectively and in mass on this planet. We do these radio shows because they're telepathic in nature. They're connected to other beings not on Earth in a telepathic manner. It's a pure form of communication through the omnipresent hue sound that's underneath everything, that is zero-point or toroidal energy, living energy. It's not nuclear. It's not atomic. There's no molecules, no electrons, no protons, none of that. In the energy that people see through the Hubble telescope, all that stuff that appears black to people on Earth is only that way because physical eyes on Earth cannot see that high in frequency. It's very quite bright light out there. It's a kind of an energy that stars and galaxies and planets float in, supports them. And there are beings who maintain the mechanics of that. The people on Earth have no idea exist at all yet. The nature of the universe was once known to every person on this Earth long ago. And the nature of that universe, the consciousness running through it, the thing people pray to every day, they call divine spirit, is different now. Same, but more enlightened even within itself. And that goes all the way back to the source. The source is not located in the physical universe. It's not located in the center of all the galaxies. It's not located in the next division up, major division, above 144 parallel dimensions of physical reality. We have an astral plane. There's a causal and a mental and etheric plane, a huge void that nothing seems to be there except energy. And then there's these higher realities, and we come from up there, everyone. On Earth and in other worlds, we were meant to be custodians or caretakers of the other life. We were meant to care about the mammals and animals and things and help. They have advanced nervous systems. There are atoms running them just like us, who are learning how to handle the energy of running the complex nature of a human form. The brain of a human body is not the intelligence of the person. It is a mechanism that runs the complex nature of a human form. And it gets its energy to operate from the Atma, what people call soul, which is spherically shaped, is not made of physical matter. It isn't nuclear or atomic in nature, and it is comprised of individualized, that same energy you see out in space. And that one energy goes up in different and higher frequencies, moving right up through the different planes. And in it are all these divisions of molecular time rate matter at different frequencies until you get to the shift and change in these major divisions in the universe. And there are doorways that exist between all those planes that allow higher energy to come down and support the hue you see out in space that supports all those galaxies floating in it. The more advanced races out there that travel the stars, even to other galaxies, understand how to work in harmony with that energy, which is between all things that float in it out there, which is vastly larger than the little things like galaxies that float in it. That energy cannot be held in your hand. It cannot be possessed. It cannot be put in a bank account, except it's in the form of money, neutral, and then people do with it whatever they want. But it's energy that's behind and supporting all things. It is a co-creator with us. What we imagine in it, it simply brings into reality, good or bad or both. So the importance of understanding and being awake enough to never use the imagination in negative ways, driven by subconscious fear and paranoia of other things outside ourselves, must be neutralized. When we go into the hue, it has a function now of turning off those subconscious drives in people until they can learn to master it, until they can learn to remember, until they can learn to recover what they are afraid to remember. Until the fear is turned off, they cannot. The hue functions to help, and there are beings that out there among the stars and master teachers that help people like people on earth when they're out of their bodies at night, when they have more advanced freedom, when they're introduced to them, that can help them get over these subconscious drives from many lifetimes on many levels. Earth has a destiny of becoming a harmonized, serene planet amongst so many others. People on Earth are not in a position to do this on their own. That's clear to anybody that has eyes to see or ears to hear. You look at the way people are unconscious, the way they slaughter things, the way they eat things, the way they are. I don't blame people on Earth. I'm not throwing stones at them for that. I know what was done to them, or that they did to themselves in part, to be so unaware on a planet. They wonder if there's life on other worlds. They wonder, they look in a mirror and they think, this is who they are. And it's not. They know they can't take this with them past a few revolutions around the sun, birthdays. They're going to grow old, and then the body's going to drop out from under them. Everybody knows it. A normal human planet of people, their children are taught how to leave their bodies and be conscious and confident with it when they're infants. They grow up with that confidence. Earth people are deprived of this. I can't blame them for the lunacy that is displayed by all of them on this earth. I'm on this earth, but I don't participate in any of that lunacy anymore. Nor do the beings I work with who are not from Earth participate in any of that. We're moving in a direction to change that for the better. Earth is next. What's taking place out there cannot be reversed. Tyrants who used to come to this world are quarantined from ever coming back here, or you'd all be dead right now. Anybody who hears this radio show that has an ounce of awareness, I don't care who they are, whether they're classified, whether they're kings, when they're presidents, it doesn't matter. The people who really know that are in classified areas high up understand, because they've been told point blank to their face in a kind way that we're going to have to disclose the truth about life from other worlds to the people here. The deception, dishonesty, and lying has to come to an end. It's harming everything on this world, every second of every day. There's no future in being like that. It's impossible for there to be a future out in space the way people are on Earth right now. Quite impossible. So we need the assistance of kind, advanced beings, many of them human, in order to go through a needed and necessary transformation on this planet. The technology to do it is ancient. It's not on Earth. The wisdom to wield it properly is ancient. It's not on Earth. The amount of beings and technology that would be necessary to change this world is not on Earth yet. But it could come here free of charge. I want to repeat that. It could come here free of any cost. People on Earth don't even comprehend what that means or how to think that way yet. But it's how they're going to have to begin to think and see things in the days to come. So there will be events coming to this world that will compel people to work together in unexpected new ways. My work, for its little part in all of this, is to bring about a telepathic kind of energy channel, like a communication channel, into the planet amongst people, so that beings who can help people when they're out of their bodies every night anyway, whether they know it or not, recover more awareness of who they are when they wake that body up in the morning. And there's vast numbers of people that are needed to work with all the people of Earth to do this. It cannot be done by the people on Earth by themselves. It's not meant to be. Think of it as worlds that were on the brink of destruction, that had an intervention in those worlds, not a tyrant coming in and taking over, nobody coming in and ruling the governments, but helping them change their consciousness about each other until they're compelled to do the right thing, what we call dharma. Karma from India is a word that means action, reaction, good, bad, up, down. You kill me, I kill you. The revenge thing, the whole negative emotion thing, part of the duality of the matter that makes up the physical universe. But we're not supposed to be open to it and blended with it. And then there's dharma. Dharma is right action, doing the right thing, no matter what. This is the way beings, for the most part, out there work. And because they number in the trillions, we really don't have a right to stand in the way of that momentum. Now, do we? That's the one saving grace that I can say is out there amongst the greater God people worship, which is in all of them. People on Earth need to realize this if they're ever going to grow up and take their place among the stars. At some point, they'll be invited to go on field trips to other planets. Well, we can be trusted to go there and not throw our crap on them. The world's religions that are on Earth today do not exist on other planets or in other dimensions. They are only on Earth, named the way they're named by people on Earth. I don't throw stones at the world's religions either, even if they're unconscious, because I know what was done to them. Anyone out there beyond me knows that better than I do. The momentum that's underway now cannot be reversed by the little piddly stuff going on this planet. The people on Earth need to recover and reconnect with fellow beings and relatives they once knew on other worlds. Everyone on Earth is an extraterrestrial. You might as well accept it. How did so many different types of human races get on this one planet and one atmosphere? No, they didn't evolve out on Earth that way. They were brought here. In a history, a solar system history, an Earth history, people don't remember. It's not in Earth libraries, but it is out there. So I want to bring that out for the benefit of people. And then we're going to go on a little journey. And all we're doing, and you should have a question first, Perry, or something like that. Yeah, let's do that first.
Okay, I have a question here from Thai people asking, like, people who die, sleep and die, young and healthy, what is it?
What is
What
it?
happened to them?
Well, who knows?
Yeah, what happened to them?
They left their body. The body stopped working. They're out of their body going, oh my God, my body died, I'm dead. And then they go, wait a minute, who's talking? And they realize they're quite alive looking at this body.
Yeah,
then they're going to be drawn to whatever they left the body, the state of consciousness they have. If it's full of fear, they're going to go to fearful things. If it's full of love and respect for all life, they're going to be drawn to those things.
Yeah,
it
but
is a compulsive thing that causes people to die, be afraid, feel insecure, and go back and incarnate another body with no memory.
Yeah. And on Earth, we understand that when we die because of sickness, illness, because of diseases, right? But we die like healthy, young, and die.
Stop. Your internet's breaking up pretty badly. Are you doing anything else on that computer?
No, not at all.
Okay, shouldn't be going anywhere else with it. Have another channel open or internet or emails or anything, because it'll break up the bandwidth for this discussion. Now, I might be able to help a little bit with that bandwidth by plugging in headphones. And then the speakers, the desktop speakers, will shut off. And every little bit helps. And we'll see if this can make a difference. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
So the question is, people here on earth, we understand that we die because of illness, diseases, but when we die young and healthy while we are sleeping, any reason for that?
Well, think of it, Perry. People can answer these questions for themselves. They're just afraid to. No, they are. They're afraid to. They know. Everybody's situation is different. Someone who decides to come here for something, most people don't volunteer to come to this world. Don't think that. That's wrong. No one would decide to come here to this world like it is of free will and get in a body and agree to have all memory wiped so they're just a dumb little brain, growing little baby body, learning what they can learn on earth from other unconscious people till they become an adult. Nobody with any kind of sanity would do that deliberately, which means most people ended up here not of free will. And if someone suddenly loses a body, if that little young body has an aneurysm, a little burst of a vein in the brain, basically their brain bleeds out, they die almost instantly. Brains just shut off. The being will jump out of the body because the brain, he can't work it anymore, she. They'll jump out of the body because they're not a body and the body will perish. Then they're left with one thing, looking at it and wondering what happened. It doesn't change anything as far as their being still in existence or being alive, because they are. But they then have a choice what to do next. If they're not prepared before they perish, that body ends, then they're not sure about what to do. I hear you. I hear you. Decide to come and join us? Okay. So, there isn't one answer for everybody about what happens to each person, whether baby gets born, lives 10 minutes and passes away. The being is really never fully in that body. It's running it from outside. Something goes wrong, it's just going to move away from it. And then maybe those parents will have another child that may incarnate later or somewhere else. But it is a compulsive thing for most beings on earth to come and seek a body and be born. It's not a conscious free will thing. Of all the worlds people could go to in all the dimensions, why would anybody choose voluntarily to come to this planet and get in a baby body and remember nothing? And then they think that's normal. And it isn't. They only have what's on earth and the people on earth and a classified community that will not tell them the truth to look at and to deal with when they're growing up. And all their siblings and all the people around them all over the world are supporting this illusion that they don't know anything. They grow up with that lack of confidence. They don't know how to leave their body consciously. And then the ironic thing is they're doing it every single night. Everyone. But they have no training, no understanding about how to turn on and use higher faculties to download where they've been into a brain that was grown up on earth that has none of this in it. None of the journeys where you go at night. It has to be brought back here and downloaded here where you don't remember anything. Doesn't change the fact that going to sleep is a complex process. The pineal gland in the center of the brain secretes serotonin, makes melatonin. The brain, it creates a condition to keep the lungs working, heart working, blood working while you're gone. There's a telepathic link. It's not a silver or golden cord or any of that stuff. That is linked from the hue of which we're comprised, the source energy itself, into the pineal gland. And it's not a breakable link. It's not made of physical matter. A beam weapon couldn't disrupt it. A nuclear bomb would ruin the body. But that beam, that energy cannot be disrupted by nuclear matter or material. And so when you're out, as long as you have a body and you're running it, it goes to sleep. There's nobody home. You could yell at a person that's in a deep sleep. They can't hear you. There's nobody in that brain. The brain's basically turned off. The eyes are shut, the ears are off, they don't have any light coming in through their eyes, nothing impressing itself on the brain through the eyeballs or through the rods and cones in the back of the eye or in the back of the nerve of the eye. There's nothing, it's turned off. The body's running to keep breathing, keep it alive. And then when you're out every night, you bring back energy from higher vibrations to charge that body, to wake it up in the morning. People are doing it all over the earth. It's ironic that they understand unconsciously how to make this body go through this complex process of putting it to sleep and running it while they're out, but they can't remember any of it. That's kind of weird, when you think about it. So Earth is not a normal human planet by any stretch of the imagination. Not yet. It's destined to be one, but it isn't yet, because it requires the conscious, at least to some degree, cooperation of the mass of people on this planet to request the assistance that is not on this planet. The assistance is here, usually stealthy, stationed out in our solar system, not from Earth. And so there is a field of energy that surrounds our solar system that prevents tyrant races from coming here and hoodwinking leaders and doing what they used to do many years ago here. There's no more little abductions by little gray guys from the stars, and that ended more than 20 years ago. And people in the UFO and extraterrestrial communities aren't yet aware that that stuff really doesn't go on anymore. They're still talking about what happened back then with other people. Governments aren't going to tell anybody about this. They have certain agreements with some extraterrestrial races, not of them all good. And they got themselves into a trap with some of them that they had to be, shall we say, helped out of it. Not by anybody on Earth, but because it was necessary for the greater good of life beyond Earth. If people on Earth expect to go play among the stars, they better grow up, because they're not going to be able to take all this nonsense garbage that people have, fighting each other over who's right and wrong out among the stars, and fighting over the spoils of other people's planets, because space is already occupied by far more advanced races, primarily. So we're going to have to come into a greater humble understanding, not be under someone's feet, a doormat, no. But if you can't respect more advanced people to help you become more advanced, what purpose do you have for existing at all? When we go on these journeys, Perry, before we start, ask your question. I wanted to answer this question. As far as someone passing away at any age, it's really not up to the person observing it in another to figure out what happened. That's between that being and whatever beings are working with that being, and why the body suddenly stopped working. The person doesn't die, the real being. An Atma, what people on Earth call soul, is spherically shaped. People on Earth don't even know what soul looks like. They just have a faith, a belief in something. And they're going to be told the secret when they die, they're told. This is not true. Because you take the state of awareness you have when the body dies with you. It goes with you. So it'd be far superior for people on Earth to know what they are that isn't the physical body or brain before that body perishes, so they can take that understanding with them and meet with beings that can help them most evolve further. What happens when a plane crashes and everybody's killed? Well, first of all, the beings are already out of the bodies and the plane's on its way down. They see the horror of the explosion and the death, but they aren't the ones dying. And then collectively, people will meet them and take them on a little awakening journey to recover from the trauma, because they identify so strongly with the bodies. They're attached to them, even outside of them, when they're no longer functioning. They want to relive that life. And that propensity drives them into another incarnation, finding another baby body. It's not free will. It's compulsive, subconscious, negative behavior. Other worlds out there do not have children. The beings, the governments don't work like they do on Earth. They've solved these problems long ago. It makes sense that if we want to survive this negative direction, the mass of people are heading this world, we're going to need help from people who have solved it, who know how best to present it to people here and governments without destruction, without rioting in the streets, without people being shot and blamed for everything, because people in governments, classified or otherwise, only grew up knowing what they know and were prevented from knowing anything else. And fear keeps them from knowing anything else. So who are you going to point a finger at? Who are you going to blame? People who are stuck in revenge and anger and hatred for things done to them in other lives, or what's being done here, are stuck supporting the same unconscious reality here. There isn't any way to fix that putting out negative imagination and emotions. So it behooves people on Earth to discover how to turn those negative things off, at least long enough to have greater experience, to remember who they are, to recall what they once knew. We are Atma. Planets and moons and suns and stars are round. Everything that makes up a galaxy in it is round, except for meteor chunks or blown apart planets or torn apart moons or whatever they might be. Everything is round because they are made in the image of their creators, or in the image of the creator, if you want to put it that way, the source behind all life. Each spherical Atma is made of the same energy as the source itself, identical in every way on a smaller scale. People want to know what happens to someone when the body suddenly dies. Well, they aren't dead. They just suddenly, in shock, realize their body's gone, and then they have to move on. They're met by different people according to how they're putting out their vibrations, and they're moved on away from that body, often recycled in another body with no memory, sometimes brought on into higher evolution and not returned here. If you have the right kind of master teachers associated with you, not from Earth, this happens. The first thing I request people do who want to go on a journey out of their body, like they do every night anyway, and start to become conscious of it right here on Earth, practice, direct experience. I do this by direct example. When we go on these journeys, and I serve as a guide, people can hear my vocal cords or whatever. The being that's running this body, which is spherical, is in communication with all the spherical beings or souls that are running all the bodies who go on this journey. And that's connected to beings who are not on Earth, and master teachers and other very advanced races who have a vested interest in seeing that Earth survive, because they really want to see what will happen in creation if the unconscious mass of people on Earth are awakened. How can they contribute to the greater good of the universe under such new conditions? They would remember when they had associations with beings from other worlds, when they were from other worlds, running other bodies down the time track. This is something that needs to happen as a direct experience for each individual. If you're sitting down, please sit down or lie down. Close your eyes, unless you're such a person that you can imagine things like daydreaming with your eyes open. It helps to close your eyes because then all light from outside is turned off. That part of the brain is actually switched off. And as we go deeper into this contemplative, you could call it meditation, but it's more active because it doesn't just still the mind and emotions to be turned off so you can leave, which is what that's for. It becomes dynamically, imaginatively active, because imagination is not made up in a human brain. And when you're asleep, when that body's asleep, And you can hear my voice. When you start to see things and imagine things that I'm describing, you're actually there seeing it with me. You're the one seeing it, not through physical eyes. That's turned off. Not through hearing through the physical ears. As you go further into this, you won't hear your surroundings either. Just like you do when the body goes to sleep. When you put it to sleep, because you're the one who does that. I don't do that. There is a sound of the hue, the first sound, first half of the word human, that is in eternity, long before the history of this world. It did not originate on Earth. It did not originate in the solar system, in this galaxy, in any galaxy, or even in this dimension. It did not originate in the lower dimensions of time and space, or the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, who incorrectly believe that's the end and be all of eternity. You can't go further. That's simply a barrier between the lower dimensions of time and space and the upper realities, which have no time and space. There are no planets, no moons, no stars, no suns there. There are realities floating in a living energy, and beings mock it up and maintain it for the good of all life. That is the best way I can describe it for all of you. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful that they are in your life, a person, place, or thing, but whatever that is, it makes you smile inside with childlike wonder. It could be a child's smile. It could be a beautiful waterfall. It could be a hummingbird, a baby seal, a favorite cat or dog or pet. Something that really is so pure you just love. And it will open a door through the pineal gland through which a golden white light is transmitted. This is something that was set up in eternity before the lower worlds of time and space were constructed. The hue, something vocal cords of a human can do, but it doesn't just have to be human. Anybody that can mimic the sound or imagine the sound will gain the same effect. When we hue, we're opening a door through the pineal gland, connecting directly into that energy between all things out in space that float in it, which is not black or darkness as you see in photographs. It is a white golden light. And when you're out of your body at night, out in space beyond Earth, you can see it for yourself. It is a telepathic medium connected all the way up through the planes to the source itself, and time and space and gravity are not a limiting factor in it whatsoever, nor is the speed of physical light, as it's misunderstood on Earth. To determine that light only goes so fast, you have to use physical eyes as a medium to see it and detect it and determine it. But that's very limiting because physical eyes can't see beyond a very small spectrum of light. You can call it X-ray and gamma rays and all these other things, but they're just different levels of frequency of the same one energy, manifested through physical matter on different realities, different parallel dimensions or molecular time rates of planes that are interconnected. More advanced races know how to circumnavigate in craft these different parallel dimensions of physical worlds in the physical reality. They also know how to leave their bodies, go to wherever they're going before the ship gets there and make sure things are right, and then bring the ship in. In other words, a crew on a scout craft coming from a parent vessel somewhere in our solar system or even outside of it would have 4 sets of couples, generally, different kind of craft, picking human ones, but they're not all human manned. And they'll have, say, some of the couples are on the craft, 2 of them go back and sit down, go into this trance state, put the body to sleep, and leave it. So then they can go around the universe with or without spacecraft. The craft are limited to the design, the toroidal energy or 0-point energy for physical reality, and they can move as fast across time and space through interconnected interdimensional doorways. They can also propel a craft with its own gravitational field of force, much beyond what you call the speed of light on Earth. But they have to work in harmony and understanding with the energy of what they thought was a vacuum in space in order to do this. The more advanced craft do not have nuclear-powered cores, radioactive materials. They use a different source energy to channel the energy of the universe through their mechanism to get around without polluting anything. They don't have exhaust pipes. In order for races to evolve to where they can traverse the stars in this way, they have had to have conquered the polluting aspects of their consciousness on their planets, their home worlds. Because you cannot work in harmony with that one energy between all things that float in it unless you are a custodian, a caretaker, and responsible for nurturing life, particularly life that's on a lower order genetically than you are. It is required to play among the stars freely. This cannot be circumvented. Imagine with what you call daydreaming, everybody knows how to do that you are floating near the ceiling above your body. You should know that I'm doing this right now while I'm speaking with all of you. I've learned how to put this body in the trance state so it can still talk and function for your benefit while this body is asleep, really, because it's not the body that's the conscious being, it's me. You're floating near the ceiling looking down on your body. It's as easy as daydreaming. You know, you're in a classroom, you're bored, you're looking out the window at the parking lot, you're imagining being in the mountains skiing. You can hear what's going on around you, you're not paying attention. Your eyes are open, and you see the classroom, and you see through the window at the parking lot, but you're also seeing yourself being in the mountains. That which is seeing what you're seeing in the mountains or some other location is not being made up in your brain. People assume this, but it is incorrect. The brain is a mechanism designed to do one thing, and it is not capable of imagining anything. What people on Earth do not know yet, have not remembered, because they're afraid to, subconsciously, is that when they imagine anything on other worlds, out in other realities, they're actually doing it. They don't dare say so to their peers or their surroundings. So we call it daydreaming. When people bring back a memory of an awesome dream in the morning, rare for most people, but when they do, they're not making this up in their brain before they wake up the body. They're bringing back either a clear or partially clear awareness of where they were before they woke that body up. Their lack of training in this life to know how to do this effectively and accurately is the only thing that's in the way. And again, subconscious fear. Imagine being above your body near the ceiling, looking down on it. Now look through the walls of the house or the building, the car, wherever you might be, and you can see your surroundings. The material limitations of the matter that make up the walls and ceiling are not a limitation to the Atma, which is non-nuclear energy. Be at 5,000 feet in the atmosphere above the planet, looking down where you live. You can see right through the roof like you have a telephoto lens. And you can see a spherical being with a white core hovering above your body near the ceiling. At the same time you're aware at 5,000 feet in the atmosphere, you are the same sphere, duplicate of you in both locations. Both are you. And then you have a man and a woman, they are master teachers, not from Earth, standing one to each side of each one of you, about 36, long flowing hair, beautiful eyes, nice dress, and they're presenting themselves to you. And you notice that above their heads is a spherical radiant being running that form they're showing you. It's a projection. And then one of them holds up a mirror, just manifests it between their hands and shows you. And you see a physical form there, looks like you, about 36, perfectly healthy, not like your body on earth. And then they point the mirror up. And you can see in that mirror, through the eyes that are of energy made here that look like you, a sphere hovering above that form. And it is you. The mirror vanishes. This couple, whoever they are telepathic, and you can hear them right inside your head, or really inside the core of your white being. It's a white core, and you can see it has layers of teardrops in different colors of the rainbow of color of light, from a white core to a yellow layer, to kind of an orange layer, red, green, blue, violet, lavender, violet, and then kind of a golden light around it, spherical. And each one of those little teardrops are self-luminous. And each one is a higher faculty of being. Contained within those levels are all the billions of lives you've lived on multiple dimensions since you came from the source long ago, after the lower planes of time and space were built. And you had a hand in that. Becoming free means we have to accept our responsibility for the conditions of life in the lower worlds, like the planet Earth. We cannot throw stones at other people and blame them because they're just as subconsciously afraid as you are, or perhaps more. We can't throw stones at extraterrestrials, good or bad, because we were all involved with them anyway before this life. So we need to drop the negative misuse of the imagination and emotional bodies. All emotion comes from a life you're living running a body on the astral dimension. It's a major division above the physical universe. It is made of nuclear material, matter, but of a higher frequency. It is there. Long ago, you all knew it and were made to forget it or decided to forget it for one reason or another of a million other reasons. When you get so far down the scale of awareness as to be a human on earth with no memory of where you came from before you were born, there is only one direction left for each one of us, and that is up. The journey begins at that point in reverse, back to the source from whence you came, while you're living your life in balance. The hue helps us do that. I'm going to send out the hue tones on higher increasing tone levels to help you put your body to sleep like you do every night anyway, while you're hovering near the ceiling in your imagination. And it'll help you put your astral, causal, mental, and etheric bodies to sleep you have running on different heavens, let's say, as an individual spherical being from the source being, prime creator, it's called by many more advanced races out among the stars, and you're part of that. So I'm going to send these tones out so that you can put those bodies to sleep and come as a whole spherical solar atma on this journey into higher realities. And when we come back, you'll be bringing back this awareness to the form of the body that's asleep on Earth. This is recorded. So Perry will put it up on her YouTube channel called Awakened Hidden Truth. And you can review this a second time, which I'd recommend, because you will find you will discover a lot more happened during the journey than you could remember on your return, first, second, or third. I will begin those tones now. At some point, you'll begin to hear the sound that's behind the light in the multidimensional universe. You are up at 5,000 feet now, floating as a spherical being. You feel like you're breathing. And when you look at the air in the atmosphere and the clouds, it doesn't matter if it's day or night. At nighttime, it would appear bright to you. You can see a white golden light behind the oxygen atmosphere. If it's a blue sky, you can see it behind it, supporting it. And you can see several beings, a man and a woman, they are guides, very kind, standing to each side of you. They're not invading your intellect or telepathically invading your thoughts. They're simply in pure telepathic communication with you. It has nothing to do with the mind or the emotional body. As you are a spherical being hovering above a physical form that looks just like you, about 36, perfectly flawless in every way. So are the two beings that are by you. They have physical bodies asleep on a ship that's orbiting in the atmosphere, or outside the atmosphere of Earth, rather. And there are a number of others doing the same thing. The crew's still on the ship, except for this couple, and they are there to assist you, if you ask for it, to help you recover awareness of who and what you are when you're out of your body every night, when you put that body to sleep. In this way, in time, you'll be able to bring back more awareness of what you're doing every night when you're gone. None of the beings I work with will ever push anybody over the edge or take them further than they can handle. They already know this. They want this process of awakening to be one whereby your physical life on earth becomes more serene and more in balance in the process along the way. You can see down and see right through the roof of wherever you dwell on earth, and you're hovering near the ceiling above that body that's asleep, sitting or lying down. This is easy. You do it all the time. Daydreaming is not made up in the brain. There really is nothing in a human brain that can project from a motion picture camera images on a screen somewhere in another part of the brain so you can see it. That's not the purpose of a brain in the skull of a human body. You are the imaginator of eternity. It is a higher faculty of being we all have, particularly when we lose the fear, to confront it, to recall it, to recover it. Be in space above the planet, outside of Earth's atmosphere, further than the space shuttle or the International Space Station ever existed. And you can see the polar ice caps of Earth and the beautiful oceans and land masses and this beautiful sphere turning on its axis. You can see the moon orbiting the planet does not turn on its axis, always shows us the same face as it circles the sun. Meteor covered, void of atmosphere, very little gravity. And when you look in space, it's not black or devoid of color or light, as you would see in a time-lapse photography image of galaxies out in space, taken by the Hubble telescope, satellites, or some other way. And it appears to be a white golden light filling the void of space in which all things are clearly turning, creating gravitational fields, and they're floating in this other energy, which is supporting them. That is zero-point or toroidal energy, the energy of the universe. Some people call it divine spirit, pray to it. But it's better to imagine in it because it is a co-creative energy with the individual atmas running bodies. What we imagine in it, it is the one power that brings things into manifestation. We do not do that as individuals, as atmas. Whenever we imagine good or bad, the basic law of the physical universe is that every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. So you can see the value of only imagining and only allowing yourself to imagine that which is of an uplifting benefit to all life. To embrace the greater God, as it were, to become aware on that level, we have to be able to know and respect the life that exists in the grand multidimensional universe, not just life on Earth. Because then, and only then, are we free to play among the stars and go into other dimensions and have awareness return to us. It is a co-creative act of true awakened free will, yours, that begins to bring about this process with beings who can help you most to recover it. In space, you don't feel heat or cold. Everything around you is a white golden light, and you can see the billions of stars that make up our Milky Way galaxy floating clearly visible in this other energy that's all around it, behind it, above it, to the side, everywhere. Even onward and upward, higher than the galaxies are, upward into other realities. It is there, everywhere. The hue sound, which came from the source originally, is a way that beings, when they begin to recover who they are, can turn back into a telepathic connection to the source itself. And it recognizes us, and we begin our journey upward back to the source, waking up all these faculties while we're living out alive. It creates a form of protection to go through this process as well. This has to be experienced by each individual for them to know it with certainty for themselves. When I'm doing this, the being that I am hovering above this body is sending a communication out with imagination, what I'm saying visually, like a 3D hologram, out to beings and friends of mine from other worlds who I work with in co-creative harmony, who are engaged in the process of changing things out in the universe, and Earth is next. Here in space, all of us on this journey are in a circle of spherical beings running a body, standing there in the void of space, in this white golden light that looks like you, about 36, perfectly healthy. This is an energy projection that looks like you, but it's a projection from the white core of the spherical being you are. This is so we can recognize each other easily and say hello. A friend of mine who's an ambassador from the Say human race, named Ambassador Terrellian, goes on these journeys with us for now, always, standing in the center of these beings, us. I'm by his side. He's showing you a body form their race had over 1 billion Earth years ago. They did not originate in our galaxy. They are 18 foot tall, he is. Some of them as high as 25 feet. We get our genomes for the DNA we have in running the little bodies on Earth from them originally. They have more strands of DNA than we do, quite a few more. The body he's showing you looks to be about 36, 18 feet tall, slightly curly, long blonde hair, big blue eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf, just slightly. Elegant gown, standing there like a Greek god. And he has 2 thumbs up, and there's a white golden light surrounding them in a sphere of light, which is brighter than the white golden light that surrounds us because it comes from a higher reality. Same energy, though. He's simply holding a safe space, out in space, of outside the negative atmosphere of planet Earth, meaning outside all the negative emotions and feelings that are trapped within the atmosphere of that planet, bouncing off the ionosphere like a radio wave. The body's turned off. The negative subconscious drives are shut down. The beings that are the men and women who are guides with us see to that, so that you don't have to deal with those negative subconscious fears while you're on this journey as a whole spherical round Atma being that you really are. Terrellian is telepathic. He is a man or a being of few words. If you look above him, you'll see a beautiful atmosphere hovering above this form he's showing you. It is physical in the sense that if he wanted to, he could manifest that body on a planet. You could walk up and touch it. But they do not have the burden of running a body around day and night like we do on Earth. They dematerialize it and store it, the DNA, in one of the teardrops within the spherical being hovering above this body. So he's going to dissolve it. You'll see it dissolve like, just energy just becomes a beautiful wave of energy and recedes up into the white core of his being and out to a kind of a yellow layer, next layer around the core. And it's stored in one of those faculties. Now he's going to draw from the white golden light that surrounds him in the universe, and it's going to piece this body back together from the feet upward until this 18-foot tall body is standing before you again. They did what they did. They immortalized these bodies over 1 billion years ago, which means they evolved to a point where they could simply unmake these bodies and store them and move around in their true form, and then mock them up when they need them. So he's serving as an example, a kind of teacher, but not on a blackboard. He's showing you by direct telepathic experience your potential. When you see the moon and the earth and the sun in the distance, the yellow sun, you can see all the billions of stars around us, the white golden light that supports everything out there. That void in space is not void at all. You can see the earth, and then you see a kind of a heat wave flowing around the atmosphere of the planet and the moon and the sun. And the planet turns into a same earth, but it now has no polar ice caps. And there's one huge continent centered over the equator on the side facing us, from the left hemisphere to the right, that moves upward towards the pole about a third of the way below the North Pole, curves back to the right hemisphere, then downward to about a third of the way above the southern pole and backward to the western side of the hemisphere. You can see through Earth, and you can see there's another continent on the other side, 2/3 its size. And you look at the moon and you're amazed to see that it has a full atmosphere around it. It is turning on its axis as it circles the sun. It has domed cities and rivers and lakes and waterfalls. No polar ice caps. And you are looking at right now is an Earth and a moon and a sun, a very real, solid world that exists in the third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe, above the Earth you're familiar with. There is one between these two that is different as well, and more above it. And this world, this Earth, is being run by Galactic Alliance, very advanced beings, master teachers, Say-Rays like Trillian. And it is a place that has been developed to one day duplicate it and the moon, to superimpose itself over the Earth you're familiar with and change it for the better. And this has been going on for a very long time. Now we are in space above Earth, but above a higher frequency of molecular time rate matter. We've simply shifted our vibration up a little bit so we can perceive it. Down near the southern pole of that continent, you can see a half-moon shaped green glowing beach, even from space. Remember, there's no polar ice caps on that Earth. And we're drawn to it. So Trillian is moving us all in a circle of beings down through space, through the atmosphere very quickly, until we look down and find that we are hovering above several mile curved half-moon base shaped beach made of a green glowing sand like emerald. The ocean is blue-green and luminous. Much higher energy vibrates in the physical atoms of this planet. Trillian is standing up to his knees out in the ocean water with his two thumbs up. The Atme is hovering above his head. And you look down and realize that your bare feet, your toes, are wiggling in this green glowing sand. It's glowing a foot above the sand. And we are stationed next to each other near the back of this curve of this beach. And there's a brown moss covered path that goes back through the jungle trees about a mile or a little more. And in the distance, we can see over the jungle trees and see a single snow-capped mountain off to the right. Inland, several miles. And off to the left, a big clear dome city on a lower plateau at the left side of the base of that mountain. And in it, in the back side of it, are three four-sided, golden-sided, what appears to be quartz-capped pyramids. A blue-green lake, an oval lake, and a countryside surrounding it with little white pathways and little ivory-colored dome dwellings. There are scientific research centers in those pyramids and in those buildings. And in the back, 3/4 of it is a small miniature mountain range with little waterfalls coming down it, put there for the aesthetic pleasure of the people who work there. On the beach, when you look down and wiggle your toes in the sand, you reach down with your right hand. Remember, you're a spherical being running this form. You pick this up and you realize that these little particles of sand, because you can magnify them, are round, polished, pure emerald crystals radiating an energy. The energy moves through your hand, up your toes, to the top of your head. You look up smiling, and it goes into the white core of your being, hovering above that form. And then it's moved out to the green layer, white, yellow, orange, red, green, blue, violet, lavender and violet, and a golden exterior, basically the spectrum of light. But it's not comprised of physical matter. It is energy, but not as it's known on Earth yet, very well at all. When you look inland, you realize that suddenly you are up above the trees around Torellian. He's moving over the trees, and you're moving this physical form like you're standing upright, flying through the air. The spherical you, the real you, running it. And we move over the top of the trees, following this moss-covered path, straight as an arrow, and down to the left about a mile inland before the path starts to climb up the mountainside towards the snow-covered mountain. When you look up, you can see there's a waterfall cascading out of the mountain cave, 2/3 of the way towards the summit, falling down a sheer cliff face. It is a blue-green luminous water, self-luminous, and it's disappearing behind the blue-green jungle trees that surround this dome. It's quite large. At the base of this trail, to the left, is a clearing. And there's a white marble floor, maybe 100 feet across, and in it is a statue of a woman. There appears to be trees around the backside of it and a lazy river bank moving this blue-green water out towards the sea. The woman is about 10 feet tall, elegant gown, almost transparent, ivory-colored skin. You can see that it's made of quartz, polished. She has her two hands up, palms out. There's a gold band around her forehead and a little emerald green faceted stone set in the middle of it. And light is emanating from it. And around her hands is a ball of this green light. And you realize that this device, this statue, is charging that beach. This green light here in this parallel dimension on Earth represents recall and memory. Recovery of it, that is. When you look at this statue, she's a beautiful woman, and you can see as if there's a woman right inside the surface of the quartz looking at you. It's an unusual experience because this quartz statue is a doorway into another reality. And she has violet eyes and silver hair, long and flowing, as if it was made of silver metal, but you just know it's soft. Longer neck, longer fingers, longer legs, torso, because she's 10 feet tall. And when you look in the stone on the band of her forehead, you can see right through it into a huge arena made of a green radiant light. And you find yourself suddenly projected into it. Torellian is there, and all of us around them, and the two people, the man and woman that came with you as personal guides, friends, people you've known in other lives, people you've known from before, safe, uplifting, benevolent beings. And you can see this woman standing in bare feet out in the middle of this green atmosphere, and so are you. There's a beautiful Atma hovering above her, and is actually the form she has, she's showing you, that exists on a planet on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. Next to her appears a man, a little taller. That's her mate. Long silver hair, violet eyes, ivory-colored skin, elegantly dressed. And they're pointing off to the right. And you can see their planet form in this green atmosphere, clear as day. It's 4 times bigger than Earth. It has no polar ice caps. It is literally covered in equal distances, domed cities, on many little continent landmasses with oceans all around it, no polar ice caps. There are 3 worlds at different distances circling this big planet that they're the size of Earth, with dome centers on them, no polar ice caps. And then they're showing you way off in the distance what these planets and moon, this planet and the moon circle. And you can see 3 different suns. There is a blue-white giant. Further out, circling it, a yellow sun like our sun. Further out, a red dwarf. And these planets circle in orbit of a trinary sun system. Binary would be 2, trinary is 3. On that world, these 2 are, you would call them leaders. The bodies she's showing you are 3.5 million years old, unaged. These beings hovering above those bodies have served in this capacity for the benefit of a little more than half the Milky Way galaxy of world systems. On the other side is the Galactic Alliance, or the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. They are now working together in harmony for the first time. They're showing you bodies they immortalized in a different way from Turelian and the Say-Rays, because these bodies actually don't age. But you must remember that they are beings who are freely operating above them and can get in or out of them at will. Otherwise, immortalizing a physical body would be a trap for who and what we really are. They, again, are demonstrating this for your benefit because they're showing you your potential. Donantalis Freshunmuntus, that's their names. They aren't Earth names. I think I got that right. I just know them. When I have to dig into memory and figure out what their names are. But they're simply demonstrating for you. They're kind of a master teacher for beings to learn how to be like they are. Turelian serves the same example in a different way. Turelian's race is far more ancient. Neither race originated or evolved to where they are as human or humanoid on Earth or in our galaxy. They ventured here long ago, established life on many worlds, and the Say-Rays vanished to see what people would do with it. They've recently returned to take on their responsibility of helping younger races evolve beyond self-destructive tendencies. To put it bluntly. Then you find yourself suddenly in space, far away from Earth, the Earth with no polar ice caps, and that continent you know is called Lemuria. Because on this Earth world, the poles never flipped like they did in the world you're familiar with, cyclically every 100,000 years, wiping out most life, raising from the seafloor new continents and sinking the ones that are present above the ocean level. Earth is an enigma because it's the only planet I know of that does this, or did until recently. That Lemuria, on the other side, is another continent, 2/3 its side, we refer to as Atla, or Atlantis. They did not get their names from Earth culture, by the way. And they were destroyed overnight, over 100,000 years ago, on the world you're familiar with. But here, they never were. The moon is alive with a full oxygen atmosphere and life. Be aware of the multidimensional nature of creation. This is just a third higher parallel dimension within the physical universe. Where we're going is far beyond that. Now in space around Turelian, I'm standing by his side. I've got 2 thumbs up and there's a white golden light around my hands. I'm simply assisting him like a younger assistant, being trained as well and training others, kind of a thing. And he points upward. And what we're going to do is take a journey beyond the physical universe, not to other worlds in the physical galaxy of the Milky Way, but up through a number of dimensions. We're going to go past the void into the realm of the Atma plane, the original place of demarcation, or what's the right word? Embarkation from the upper realities into the lower worlds as spherical beings. And as he points upward, you see a tunnel of blue-green light begin to form in the fabric of the white golden light of space, and it spirals gently upward, and it opens, and it looks like blue-green luminous water. Way up in the other end of that tunnel, you can see a kind of a brilliant blue atmosphere. And you can see a long snow-covered mountain range in the distance through it. Can't quite make out the details. And then Turelian starts moving upward like the center of a galaxy, and we're moving around him upward into this huge opening till all of us together, including your guides, are the size of a dime to a dinner plate. And then we're shot upward at, like in a beam of light at tremendous speed. And as we're moving up through this cyclone of blue-green transparent water, you can see levels of galaxies moving past us, whizzing by, until we pass through a cobalt blue, pale blue atmosphere and come out into a void, and the vortex below us vanishes until all we see in every direction is this pale blue light. Nothing solid, no matter, no buildings, no planets, nothing. It appears to be a void, but it's living energy, and it is not a void. And then we're shot upward at tremendous speed until we see way in the distance a luminous white beach starting to form. We're moving toward it, and then it widens. And this white luminous beach goes on perfectly straight in each direction into what appears to be infinity. And as we approach it and stop, we're hovering above a beautiful, luminous, sparkling white beach. Behind us is this pale blue atmosphere crashing upon a shore like water. And you see jungle trees, tall, along the beach, made of growing crystalline things. They're not like earth trees, but they look like a blend of palm trees and weeping willow trees, and they're just exotic and beautiful. We're moving up above the jungle trees, and we're greeted by a band of birds that come flying up out of the crystalline branches of this tree. And they look like foot-long blue jays with long split V-tails like a sparrow, but they have rainbow-colored bodies, blended so gradually, millions of beautiful colors of the spectrum of light, big bulbous blue eyes, and two sets of bird wings, one over the other, moving very fast. They're hovering there like a hummingbird. And they are simply lined up in a couple of dozen rows. Terrellians behind us, standing upright. And they have vocal cords, so they're telepathic, and beautiful singing voices. When you look above them, you can see a spherical atma like you running them. These are much higher genetic bodies of birds. They are intelligent. You can talk with them. And they begin to sing. Male and female voices that sound perfectly flawless, singing the hue on multiple levels. Hue, 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 just beautiful. And you can feel that vibrating the white core of your being, hovering above the physical form you have here. You're showing to them it looks like you, about 36. And then they depart. They welcomed us, and then they leave. We move over the trees inland. In the distance, you can see a long snow-covered mountain range. Beautiful botanical paradise, and a little brown moss-covered path winding its way up towards these crystalline building structures at the base of these mountains. And down, you look down and see that there is a botanical garden made of concentric rows of beautiful flowering plants. In the center of it is a round circular white marble floor, and there is a fountain coming out of the bottom of the center of this white marble floor on a round post, square base, and a white marble seat around it with scrolled ornate legs. It's like 15 foot wide with scalloped edges, and in the center on a square pedestal is a statue of a man standing there, bronzed of skin, bald, about 36, muscular, bare-chested, little tunic white dress from his waist down to his bare ankles. His hands are open out to his side, palms out, and flowing from them is a white golden light, filling this bowl. It's cascading over these scalloped edges in a smooth, glistening sheet, vanishing down behind the seat through the floor or the ground. You can see a white golden beam of energy coming down the top of the head of this statue. This goes on 24/7. This is the Atma plane, just on the other side of the void. And you see a man approaching From the edge of the marble floor, stepping off the moss-covered path that winds its way in the direction of the crystalline palace structures at the base of the snow-covered mountains. And he's walking up with his right hand out, greeting us. His name is Satnam. It just means true name, first word, first sound. He knows we're here, and he's basically asking us if we want to partake in the energy that comes into that fountain from a much higher reality, source itself, prime creator. Tyrellian will move now up above, number of feet above the statue, and move right into this beam till you can see him floating in the center of it. And all of us join him. You're going to find as you move into this beam coming out of the head of the statue that it is a much deeper and wider beam than you thought. And we are all circling Tyrellian in the center of it. This white golden light hewing is racing upward and downward simultaneously through us. Perfectly harmless, but it's making the white core of your being brighter. There is a wisdom that comes with this and a certain protection in the Atma plane, the first plane above the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth. This is where we are. This is where you're feeling and experiencing energy. This reality you see is a mock-up. It is maintained by Satnam and beings called silent mentors, who are the mechanics of creation, who maintain the different dimensions, the planets, the galaxies, the stars, and the doorways between them. And in this shaft of light where we're floating, you can see 12 beings approach us, standing behind us, unthreatening, beautiful gowns, men and women, long flowing hair, different kinds of skin color. This is how they're presenting themselves. But when you look at their face, you can't see any facial features. When you look into their white face, you can see levels upon levels of galactic, cosmic creations, each brighter than the other. And this is how they think and move and have their being. Now, when you look above them, you're going to see an Atma like you, but 4 times larger, twice as many layers of teardrop faculties. These beings normally don't interact with master teachers or Atmas like us. They didn't until recently. There is a dimension just above here between the 5th and 6th planes where they do work with master teachers and us if we want to go there to interact for the first time. You're going to find yourself suddenly shot up this beam until you come out into a brilliant, luminous blue cobalt atmosphere. You look down and see that we're surrounding Tyrellian, and that shaft of light, white golden light, dwindles and vanishes. And we are in, high above, looking down on 6 snow-covered mountain peaks. And when you look out over the horizon in every direction, you see that there is a white, luminous, sandy beach circling a huge floating landmass in this blue atmosphere. There are no moons, no suns, no stars here. These planes above the void have buildings and structures that beings maintain, but they aren't made of matter. There's no space and time here. No negative emotion or imaginations of any kind cannot be brought here. They are left turned off and asleep with your bodies back on Earth. Here you experience looking out onto this beach, and you see there is a blue glass administration tower to the left on a lower plateau of the western one of 6 snow-covered mountains. It's coming out of a circular white marble floor. It's pure, transparent, like glass, comes up to a flattened spherical area and up to a minaret point. You can see inside this dome, and there is a fountain in it, but there's no statue here. It's a white alabaster fountain, and there's a shaft of white golden light roaring up and down in it, filling it. It's pouring over the edge in an even luminous sheet, dropping down through the center of this blue glass-like administration tower, where it's transmitted down below this realm into Satnam's fountain and onward below. You can see that there are white marble roadways. I call them marble. Let's call them that for sake of describing them, that extend at the outer peripheral edge of this white marble floor, that go out straight as an arrow, like the spokes of a bicycle, in every direction. When they reach the mountains, they go through tunnels. They go into a hollowed out interior of this floating landmass, and then continue through tunnels out to the beach on the other side, all the way around this floating landmass. When you look to the west, there is a roadway that extends straight out to the ocean. It's not real water. It is a cobalt blue light, a little darker, and you can see it crashing in an even curl along the shore. It does that all the way around the circumference of this landmass. You can hear the sound of the hue. You can see these birds appear all around us now, beings hovering above them. They're starting to sing this hue until you hear it on thousands of levels, men and women's voices, and then it blends into a whole round tone. In this cobalt blue atmosphere, when you look at it, you can feel yourself breathing it in, but it passes through you, through the form you have, through the white core of your being, and then passes back out. There's a direct connection. And behind it, you can see a white golden light, if you look, supporting this cobalt blue atmosphere, which is remembering or recall also, but remembering and recall of the worlds above the void, the realities. You can see that there is a shaft of white golden light coming down on the top of the minaret point of the blue glass administration tower. Torellian and all of us are going to move inside it until we're in the center of it, and it's moving freely up and down and around us, and it brightens the core of your being a little more. This is the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. When you look at the western roadways, you can see, as an example, there's a left turn and then a right turn, a little further a left turn, and there are clearings all the way out to the beach. And there are different buildings and teaching facilities located in each one of these little centers. And you look down on this Hue Expansion Ray Academy, you see they're all over it. And then you look down below your feet and you see a shaft of white and golden light open, and all the way down at the bottom of it, right through this landmass, you can see we are still hovering around Torellian in space, outside of the atmosphere of the Earth you're familiar with. And then the next thing you know, you're hovering above your body near the ceiling, back on Earth where you live. Be kind to that form. You're looking down on it compassionately. Send a little beam of white golden light down into the middle of the brain. Let it expand through your body and continue on its journey for the benefit of all life, out into the world and out into the universe. And then when you're ready, open your eyes.
Well,
so yeah, I thought maybe, I didn't think about it, but people who are listening, to get established in something above what certain groups call the void, in a journey like this, begins a process that is not reversible, meaning it's good. It's a way of beings to connect in a particular lifetime with the source after not remembering it for an ancient time. And then it begins a process. So I want to leave everybody with that, and you, Perry, with great goodwill, pleasant dreams. But remember, when you leave your body tonight, when you put it to sleep, you'll have friends helping you if you want it.
yes, and people can go on to check the website under this video. Okay, I will put it there. Thank you, Scott. Yes?
Thank you for having the courage to do this. And I thank the people who are listening to this sincerely for having the courage to step into deeper knowing and remembering. Good night.
Yes, Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please thumb
Oh,
up, subscribe, like. Yes.
you'll find the website, paralleltime.com, listed on the video when it's put up on our YouTube channel, Awakened in Truth. So I'll stop this recording now to end this session.